Hi, Dean here with Escape to Gaming. Now I'm going to go through my original Xbox collection. I actually just recently picked up a third Xbox, so now I've got three absolutely mint condition. There's not even a scratch on these. One of them had a couple very light scratches, but these ones are just absolutely immaculate, and I knew that they would be in good shape and would last and kind of preserve my gaming for years to come. So I've been collecting like crazy for the original Xbox. I don't know how many games I have, but I'm going to show them all right here. Recently picked up Bloodwake, which was an exclusive for the original Xbox. Really cool, kind of a vehicle combat game like Twisted Metal, but on the water with incredible water effects and really addictive and a lot of fun. So I'm dying to get into this. The game The Thing, which is also in the PlayStation 2. This is very creepy and atmospheric, and is actually story canon to the original movie The Thing. So I'm dying to get into this. This looks like a great pickup. I had Dawn of Fate, but I actually got rid of it because I didn't like the gameplay in it. But I do really love the Terminator 3, what's it called? The Redemption game, which is fantastic. Some really cool vehicle segments. Game's kind of tough. It's quite challenging. But wonderful graphics. Arnie actually gets more chewed up as you play the game. It's really cool. I'd highly recommend this for the original Xbox. Terminator 3 Redemption. Battlestar Galactica. I'm a huge fan of both the original one as well as the new one. I actually went to the theater to see it in widescreen before it was even on TV, the film, after the wonderful Star Wars came out. This one follows the original TV show, not the new one. As much as I love the new one as well and have all of them on DVD, but this has the original Colonial Vipers and Cylon Raiders, but it's a wonderful game. You can usually pick this up fairly cheap. I'd highly recommend this if you're a fan of the franchise. The very first Sniper Elite, I got an absolutely mint copy of this. All these games, by the way, are all complete. They all come with a very clean disc and booklets. This is a really tough game. This is probably the hardest of all the Sniper Elites, including the new one. Highly recommend that. I was really pleased to find that finally. Urban Chaos. This is one of the coolest Xbox games I've ever played. I've recently played the first couple levels of this and I've had so much fun. It's a very unusual first-person shooter that I can't recommend enough. In a kind of an urban setting with gangs and thugs, you're there to protect the fire department and people doing their jobs during riots and big, cataclysmic things going on in the city. And it's a very unusual game. Highly recommend that. Excuse me. Commando Strike Force. This game has got some pretty good impressions videos and reviews on it. Not too much, but everyone seems to like it. It came highly recommended by a friend of mine, so I haven't played it yet, but it looks really good. Lots of stealth, kind of a really cool, unique first-person shooter with a World War II setting. I have, which one here? Oh, here's the Medal of Honor European Assault. I had this years before on the original Xbox and liked it. It's probably my least favorite of the World War II Medal of Honor games, but still a lot of fun. I also have, this one I've recently bought, but I've never played it, is the Rising Sun Medal of Honor, which looks fantastic. A lot of people love this, and it's kind of nice to see a different setting other than Europe. So I have this one as well. And I think I'm pretty sure, oh, here it is, Medal of Honor Frontline, which I also have. Now this I also have downloaded off in HD off the PlayStation Network, the remake of it, which actually came, I think, as a downloadable game on my PlayStation 3 along with the 2010 Medal of Honor. But this still is a fantastic game. It still looks and plays great on the PS2, but it looks even better on the original Xbox. The game The Warriors. Now this I had played on the PS2 and had this last year on my PS2, but I was thrilled finally to find a fairly hard to get and pricey as hell copy of it for the original Xbox. I used to have the original strategy guide for this, which is pretty helpful. There's a lot of really cool things to do. The spray painting part of it, doing the graffiti, was the hardest part for me personally to get through. But I loved it back in the day, and I can't wait to play it. You can also get that game downloaded off the PlayStation Network for your PlayStation 3, by the way, which is a great game. Outrun 2, what can I say? I love the whole Outrun series, and when I get some games for the Sega Genesis, I'm definitely going to be getting the Outrun games, but this is a fantastic game. I can't rave enough about it. Toka Race Car Driver 3. This is one of the finest racing sim games ever made for the original Xbox. Highly recommend it. This comes probably a close second to the Forza series. This I actually found brand new factory sealed for like 20 bucks on eBay. Not a bad deal. Destroy All Humans. This is one of the funnest games I played on my original Xbox back in the day. I actually have the strategy guide for this as well. I found it last year. I had the PS2 version originally, and then I bought the Xbox version, which I used to have years before. This is one of the coolest games, probably one of the top 10 most fun games that I've played on the original Xbox. Destroy All Humans. I got to get the second one next. I saw it the other day at my Dimple store. I'll have to go back and pick it up. I've had a couple of friends of mine that really liked this Thief Deadly Shadows and recommended it as I was considering getting the new one for the PlayStation 4. So found a great copy of Thief Deadly Shadows. Anxious to try that. I just recently picked up Star Wars Starfighter, which I've never played. I think if you beat the whole game, you can unlock the TIE Fighter and the X-Wing Fighter, which is really cool, but I've heard it's highly recommended. Even though it has a lot of the newer kind of prequel Star Wars type spaceships and what have you in it. I just recently got, Oddworld Stranger's Wrath, which looks incredible. I've never played the game. I've never played the other one either, but it looks really cool for the Xbox. Men of Valor, which was done by the team that made the Allied Assault Medal of Honor game. But it's kind of like a Medal of Honor game set in Vietnam. A highly recommended game. It looks great. I've watched tons of gameplay videos and YouTube of it. It looks surprisingly good. I cannot wait to get into this. I get like a backlog of games. Shell Shock Nom 67 I recently picked up along with the strategy guide. This was one of the just tough as hell games that I played on my original Xbox. I got about halfway through it and I could never finish the game, so I'm dying to get back into it. I even have the strategy guide for this as well. Call of Duty 2, the big red one. I painted my neighbor's house many, many years ago when this just came out. It came out the same week that I painted my neighbor's kitchen and den, which I did for free for him. And as a thank you, he went out and bought me a brand new copy of this the week it came out. And I absolutely loved it. So I was so happy to have this back in my original Xbox collection. Call of Duty 2, the big red one. Kind of came out at a similar time as the other Call of Duty, which came out for the Xbox as well as the Xbox 360. Red Dead Revolver, one of the toughest and most fun games I've ever played. I actually prefer the music in Red Dead Revolver even over the music in Red Dead Redemption. It has more of the authentic spaghetti western music from like The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. It's kind of a strange game made by like a Japanese studio, so it has this weird Japanese kind of character models and animations and what have you, but yet it takes place in the American Old West. Tough as nails game. I got right to the middle of it on this big bridge battle with the cannons firing back and forth, and I never could finish the game, so I'm dying to get back into this. I even had the strategy guide at one time. I don't know what the hell happened to it. This is the reason why I bought my Xbox, which I've said so many times, was to play what I think is one of the finest and the grandfather of first-person shooter zombie games is the Land of the Dead Road to Fiddler's Green, one of the longest names in video game history. And now this game is going for $50 to $100 on eBay for like mint copies or new, like new condition. But still, to this day, a very cool game, very fun. Sure, it could have more polish and could be a little bit better, and it's a little dated playing it now, but still creepy as hell. I almost had a psychotic episode playing this. And that was a reason, that was the only game I had for my original Xbox initially, and played this for weeks over and over. And as you crank the difficulty up, the zombies come at you more aggressively, which is very unusual. Brothers in Arms, Earned in Blood. I had this back in the day and I absolutely loved this. This is a fantastic. It looks and plays a lot better on the original Xbox than the PlayStation 2. It looks crappy on the PS2 for some reason, and I used to have it on the PS2 as well. But this is a fantastic squad-based shooter. I love this one, and I also have the Road to Hill 30 Brothers in Arms as well, which is highly recommended. Wonderful stories, great music, a great setting. You really feel like you're in World War II. The game 13, which I've never played, kind of like a comic book graphic novel setting. Really cool music in it too, kind of a funk jazz type music, and just very unusual. Really a great game, and challenging too from what I understand. So I've been dying to play this. A really kind of a must-have underground game from what I understand. Now, I just showed, my PS2 collection, the wonderful game Manhunt. This game looks and plays amazing on the Xbox. It looks so much better. And I'm finding a lot of Rockstar games I find look and play better on the original Xbox than they even did on the PS2. This one in particular, this looks and plays amazing on the Xbox 360. It's like an HD version of it. The problem is you lose Brian Cox's voice, which he plays a director in it. So you lose all of that, although you can put on the subtitles and see what he says. But for some reason, it's a weird bug or glitch on the Xbox 360, but highly recommended. This is one of my favorite flying games of all time. Now, I also have the follow-up, Heroes Over Europe, for the Xbox 360, but Heroes of the Pacific, I don't know if it was on the PS2 or not, I'm not sure, but a fantastic, kind of a Japanese theater, World War II flying game with incredible missions, so immersive. I played this all the way through. The last level is a real bitch, but I finally got through it. I love that to death. My father-in-law hit me to this on his old PS2 before he got his PS3, and we played this night after night. We get snowed in for like a week and a half. I was stuck up in the high desert of California with tons of snow, no way to fly out, and we played the living hell out of Indiana Jones and the Emperor's Tomb. What a wonderful indie game. This is the finest Indiana Jones game I've ever played. I'm anxious to get, they have a Super NES version as well of the Adventures of Indiana Jones, which I'm anxious to get as well. But this is really well done. It's a real timing thing, though. It's a tough game. Really hard, but a lot of fun. Cold Fear was one of the last games I bought from my original Xbox. And a highly recommended kind of a Resident Evil clone in some respects, but really a much more of a return to the early Resident Evil, where this is a genuine survival horror, masterfully done, on like a rolling ship out in the middle of the ocean, scarier than hell, really challenging. I'd highly recommend this Cold Fear game. And the prices are going up on this if you're into collecting. Black, one of the finest games. I also have this installed off Xbox Live Arcade on my Xbox 360. This is my favorite version of it. I played it on the PlayStation 2 as well, but it looks and plays better on the lighting and everything looks a little bit better on the original Xbox. Highly recommend this. One of the top 10 Xbox games, I think, in my opinion, of all time. I just picked this game up. I can't tell you how much I love this. Now, this has got some really strange panned reviews where people did not like this game. It looks a little dated going back and playing it now, but it is one of the finest movie licensed games I personally have ever played. It has the authentic music in it that was in the film. It unfortunately only has Michael Madsen's likeness and voice work in it. Because of obvious licensing problems, they couldn't get all of the likenesses of Steve Buscemi and all of the other wonderful Harvey Keitel and the other actors that were in it. Unfortunately, but they do have some that look similar to them and talk in a similar fashion. A lot of people gave it bad reviews based on that alone, but I mean, they don't realize what it costs to get the licensing of and get the actors' voices and their likenesses. But its game is incredible. It's really cool. You can play as a complete sociopath, killing everyone in sight, or you can play as a professional. So it's really neat with the different game styles that you can play the game. You can take hostages and quietly kind of talk your way out through the cops, and they'll slowly back down, put their guns down at their feet, and you can control the crowd and work your way out, or you can just go guns blazing, which you won't last too long. This game is tough. It also has driving sequences mixed through it. And what it does that no one seemed to understand, they go, well, this doesn't relate to the movie at all, but what it does, it shows what each of these other characters in the film were talking about. When they talked about the Michael Madsen character going nuts at the mall, they show them all seen with Michael Madsen. You get to play as all of the characters from the film and see what happened at the jewelry heist, which they never showed, what happened at the mall and other areas. That's where this game succeeds. I used to even have the guide for this years ago, which I'd like to get back. I am so thrilled to get this back in my collection. This is actually, I think, a hidden gem. Starsky and Hutch, I've never played. I watched Steve Benway's wonderful gameplay on the PlayStation 2. It looked cool as hell, and I told him I'd be getting this. I finally found it for the original Xbox, really cheap too, like $3. But an absolutely mint copy of it. This game, I can't wait to play. It has some of the authentic music, and the voice work is similar to, David Soul and Paul Michael Glaser, but I'm a huge fan of Starsky and Hutch. Back in the day, I have all of the DVDs. I love it. Love the music, everything. Freedom Fighters, one of the coolest squad-based tactical shooters I've ever played. This is one of my top probably 10 games of all time. I can't rave enough. The guys that made Hitman 2 made this game, but it's a wonderful, fantastic squad-based tactical shooter. New York, it's taken over by the Russians, and you're a plumber with a resistance movement. You can control your squad and take back the City Hall and the Statue of Liberty and the library and police stations and stuff. It's so cool and so well done. I'd love to see an HD remake of this, or kind of a modern reboot of this. I think it would do really well. It's really a great tactical shooter. I have the wonderful Forza, the original Forza. Now, I did a lot of gameplay of Forza 2 on the Xbox 360 and loved that, but this is the one that really started the trend. And you could also create your own custom soundtracks. It's the only Forza game you could do that, where you can, during the races, you can set up the music you want through the game, not with it just playing in the background, and you could race to your favorite music. But yeah, this is an incredible game. This should be in everyone's top 10 original Xbox collection, without a doubt. I had to get the Wolfenstein Tides of War, which I had before for the original Xbox, and the PlayStation 2 I love as well. In some ways, the graphics look a little bit better in this, although I think the HUD and some of the menus look a little bit better on the PlayStation 2 version, but graphically, this doesn't look bad. It just doesn't have all the extra scenes you get in the PlayStation 2 Operation Resurrection exclusive. But this had some great multiplayer, which they didn't have to the same extent in the PS2 version, but I had to get this, naturally. Soldier of Fortune 2 Double Helix. This is an incredible game. This game I played just a couple months ago. I'm a couple levels into this. It has some really good gore mechanics where you can shoot someone's arm off or their head off or parts of their body or whatever. It's brutally graphic. It's very dated to play it now. It's kind of very similar looking and playing to kind of Wolfenstein, Return to Castle. Very similar. But just a different setting. I'd highly recommend this. This is one of my favorite games, and it's up there with Wolfenstein Return. I was really surprised. I can't wait to see how the game develops, and from what I understand, it's balls hard too, which is not a bad thing. I've been trying to get a copy of Driver 3, which I can't find a clean copy complete yet locally, but I'll just have to get it online. But this is my favorite Driver game out of the 4 of them, and I have Driver 1. I need to get Driver 2, and I want to get Driver 3 as well. With Driver Parallel Lines, I had for the original Xbox before, did also on the PS2, and amazingly on the Wii. It was an early Wii game. It's kind of like a GTA 4. It's New York City, but the first half of the game you're playing in the 70s with 70s music, 70s cars, clothing, terminology, everything. And then the second half of the game you play in the modern times. I don't want to give away what happens in the story, but it's really cool, and everything looks different. It's the same city. The lighting looks different. The cars, everything's modern. The music changes. This is one of the greatest finds for the original Xbox. It plays and looks beautiful on the Xbox. A lot better, frankly, I think, than the PS2 version, which I played last year. I'd highly recommend Driver Parallel Lines. Like I said, you can get it for the Wii as well. This is my favorite Bond game of all time, and believe me, I like most of them, is From Russia with Love 007. It looks and plays amazing on the original Xbox. I spent like $30 or $27 plus tax. Kind of a pricey game. Highly recommended. I even recently ordered off eBay a mint strategy guide for this as well. I love this game so much. I've got to review this at some point. The Punisher, I saw Dave at Lawn Boys Post 1975, did some wonderful gameplay of this, and I got to go out and get that. I lit the tires up and went down to my Dimple store and immediately bought a complete copy of The Punisher. I've already played a few levels of this. This is so cool. Over the top, kind of like Manhunt in a way, with the environmental kills like they had in Manhunt 2 and everything, but a really cool game. I love the comics. I love the franchise. I wish I could afford The Punisher for the Sega Genesis, because it really looks cool. Now, this original test drive for the Xbox, as well as the PlayStation 2, I think is an unusual game. The cars kind of handled very arcade-like, but it had great muscle cars, one of the first games to have licensed muscle cars, and just good music, good driving. It's tough as hell. You'll redo races over and over until you get the high scores and win everything, but I love this game to death. Highly recommend this test drive, this version of it, on the original Xbox. This is a fantastic game that I had back in the day, and I love Midnight Club Los Angeles, the complete edition on my Xbox 360, but I'd highly recommend Midnight Club. This is the dub edition remix, and it has, in fact, it has an older version of my Dodge Ram Hemi truck as well in this, which you can unlock. Different play styles. This game is tough. It's some of the worst rubber band AI I've ever experienced in a game, but a lot of fun. Great music, even Nine Inch Nails, some of my favorite bands are in here. Wonderful music, a fantastic Rockstar game. They've made all of the Midnight Clubs, and I've had all of them. I had Midnight Club 1 and 2 on the PlayStation 2, but 3 I bought for the Xbox and love the graphics of it. And I've been playing that one recently too. Fireblade I've never played, but it looks really cool. It's like a helicopter, kind of like an Airwolf at the old TV show. It's very similar to that, kind of a futuristic helicopter. You can go in and just kick ass. It looked unusual. I kind of liked it, so I bought it. Panzer Dragoon Orta. I never pronounce it properly. This I've never played, but I had a couple friends of mine. I saw Dave at Lawn Boys Post 1975, did some really cool gameplay of it on his Xbox 360, which I guess it's kind of hit or miss the way it plays on that. But it looks wonderful. You're flying a dragon and shooting, kind of like a flying game, but with a dragon. Really a great concept. I can't wait to play that. And then the game, which was kind of like the early Gears of War, kind of one of the early third-base person cover-based shooters, is Kill Switch, which I've never played, but always wanted to. So after filming this Xbox collection video, I got a call from my Dimple store, and I went down and picked up the last game for my collection, at least for right now, and that's Myst 4 Revelation, which I've always wanted to play. It looks like a fantastic game. I'm a huge fan of the Myst series and played all of them, except the Ribbon game was the only one for the PlayStation 1, which I haven't played. But this looks fantastic, and while I was there, I asked them. They located a copy of the Myst 3 Exile, which I already have for the PlayStation 2, and showed my collection, and that'll be here in a few days as well for just a few bucks. So I'm thrilled to finally have a complete, Myst collection for all my systems, and I'm just waiting to get the original Myst for the Xbox, and I probably will get the Myst 3D downloaded my PC as well. So anyway, that's it. That wraps up my Xbox collection. I hope you enjoyed it. Next I'll be going on and showing my Xbox 360 collection. I don't know whether to do it in 2 parts or 1. It's a huge collection with well over 100 games. But I'll try to do it as quickly as I can and try to get through it fairly quick so you can at least see the games I have. And I'll call out a few favorites that I like along the way. So I hope you enjoyed my collection video. Enjoy your games and your collections. Thanks.